The decision that changes everything. There will be a moment. Maybe it's happening right now as you watch this. A moment where you're faced with a choice that feels different from all your other daily decisions. It's not louder or more dramatic, but there's something about it, a quality of aliveness, a sense of significance, a subtle knowing that this choice matters. This is what I call a quantum decision point, and how you respond to it will literally determine whether you stay in your current financial reality or quantum leap into a completely different one. Most people miss these moments entirely. Others recognize them but choose fear. The few who choose alignment in these moments, their entire financial reality shifts. Sometimes instantly, sometimes gradually, but always completely. Let me explain what a quantum decision point is. In quantum physics, there are moments when a particle's state collapses from multiple possibilities into one reality. Before observation, the particle exists in superposition, simultaneously in many states. The moment of observation collapses all those possibilities into one actuality. Your life works the same way. At any given moment, you exist in a field of infinite financial possibilities. Most of your decisions maintain your current trajectory. But certain decisions, quantum decision points, have the power to collapse the wave function of your life into a completely different financial timeline. These aren't necessarily big decisions in the conventional sense. A quantum decision point might be choosing to say yes to an opportunity that terrifies you. It might be deciding to invest in yourself when logic says you can't afford it. It might be choosing to walk away from security to pursue alignment. It might be the moment you decide to charge what you're actually worth instead of what feels safe. The size of the decision isn't what makes it quantum. What makes it quantum is that it represents a fundamental shift in your energetic frequency and identity. Here's what most people don't understand. You face potential quantum decision points regularly, but you don't recognize them because they don't announce themselves with fanfare. They show up quietly, often disguised as uncomfortable choices, risky opportunities, or moments that require you to act despite fear. And because they feel uncomfortable, because they contradict your current identity, because they require you to leap before you feel ready, most people default to the safe choice. They choose their current reality over the unknown possibility. And in that moment, they lock themselves into their existing financial timeline. Think about your own life. There have been moments where you felt a pull toward something different. Maybe it was starting that business. Maybe it was making that investment. Maybe it was having that difficult conversation about money. Maybe it was leaving that job. You felt the pull, but you also felt the fear. And you chose the familiar over the aligned. I'm not saying this to create regret. I'm saying it to help you recognize that those were quantum decision points, and you chose to maintain your current timeline rather than shift into a new one. The wealthy version of you in a parallel timeline? They made the opposite choice at those moments. They chose alignment over comfort. They chose growth over safety. They chose their expansion over their fear. And that single choice at that quantum decision point sent them down a completely different path, into a completely different financial reality. This isn't speculation. This is how quantum mechanics works applied to your life. Every significant choice creates a branch point, and which branch you take determines which reality you experience. But here's the empowering truth. There will be more quantum decision points. They're not one-time opportunities that you missed forever. The universe keeps presenting you with moments to choose differently, to shift timelines, to collapse the wave function in favor of a wealthier reality. The question is, will you recognize them when they come? And more importantly, will you have the courage to choose alignment even when everything in you wants to choose safety? Recognizing your quantum decision points. So how do you recognize a quantum decision point when it appears? Because these moments don't come with labels. They don't announce themselves as opportunities to shift your entire financial reality. They often look like ordinary choices with an extraordinary energetic signature. And if you're not attuned to that signature, you'll miss them entirely, choosing unconsciously from your habitual patterns instead of consciously from your highest possibility. The first indicator of a quantum decision point is a quality of aliveness mixed with fear. Not just any fear, the specific fear that comes when you're standing at the edge of your known world, about to step into something that could change everything. It's the fear that's mixed with excitement, possibility, and a sense that this moment matters. Your body knows. Your intuition knows. There's a heightened awareness, an internal yes that's trying to emerge despite your rational mind screaming no. Another sign is that the decision contradicts your current identity. Quantum decision points always require you to choose as the person you're becoming, not the person you currently are. If a choice feels completely comfortable and aligned with who you are today, it's probably not a quantum decision point. It's just maintaining your current trajectory. Quantum decisions feel like a stretch, like you're reaching for a version of yourself that doesn't quite exist yet. And that discomfort is exactly what makes them quantum. They require you to become someone new. You'll also notice that quantum decision points often involve a leap of faith. The path forward isn't completely clear. You don't have all the information. You can't see the entire staircase. There's an element of trust required, a willingness to move towards something before knowing exactly how it will work out. This uncertainty is actually a feature, not a bug. If you could see the whole path clearly, it wouldn't require you to expand. The uncertainty is what calls forth your growth, your faith, your willingness to trust yourself and the universe. Timing is another characteristic of quantum decision points. They often appear when you're ready for them, even if you don't feel ready. The universe has impeccable timing. These moments show up when you've done enough internal work that you're capable of making the aligned choice, even if it feels like a stretch. But they also have an expiration date. The window doesn't stay open forever. This creates a sense of urgency that's not manufactured or manipulative. It's simply the nature of quantum moments. The opportunity to choose differently is now. Here's something subtle but important. Quantum decision points often feel like they're about one thing on the surface but are actually about something much deeper. You might think you're deciding whether to invest in a program or start a business or hire help. But at a deeper level, you're deciding whether you believe you're worthy of expansion, whether you trust yourself, whether you're willing to be visible, to risk failure, to outgrow your current identity. The external decision is just the vehicle for the internal transformation. Many people miss quantum decision points because they're waiting for the perfect moment, the moment when they feel completely ready, when all conditions are ideal. But quantum decision points rarely appear in perfect conditions. In fact, they usually appear when choosing them feels inconvenient, scary, or slightly impossible. This is by design. The discomfort is what makes the choice meaningful. If it were easy and comfortable, it wouldn't create a quantum shift in your frequency and identity. The key to recognizing these moments is developing what I call quantum awareness, a heightened sensitivity to the energy and significance of your choices. This means slowing down enough to feel into decisions instead of just thinking about them. It means trusting your intuition even when it contradicts logic. It means being willing to sit with discomfort long enough to discern whether it's a warning signal or a growth edge. The anatomy of a wealth shift. Let's break down exactly what happens when you make an aligned quantum decision. Because understanding the mechanics of how one choice can shift your entire financial reality helps you recognize why these moments are so powerful and why most people's habitual decision-making keeps them stuck in the same financial patterns year after year. When you're faced with a quantum decision point, you're actually standing at a fork in the road between two different timelines. In one timeline, you choose safety, comfort, and the familiar. You maintain your current frequency, your current identity, your current financial reality. In the other timeline, you choose alignment, growth, and the unknown. You shift your frequency, expand your identity, and access a different financial reality. The moment you choose, the wave function collapses and you move decisively into one timeline or the other. What makes a decision aligned versus just different? Aligned action has a specific quality. It feels scary but right. Challenging but true. Uncomfortable but authentic. There's a resonance with your deepest knowing, even if your surface mind is freaking out. Aligned decisions always expand you toward your highest possibility. They always require you to become more of who you really are. Unaligned decisions, even if they seem positive, feel off. There's a quality of forcing, of doing what you think you should do rather than what you're genuinely called to do. When you make an aligned quantum decision, several things happen simultaneously at an energetic level. First, your frequency shifts. In that moment of choosing growth over fear, expansion over contraction, your entire energetic signature changes. You're no longer vibrating at the frequency of the person who plays small. You're vibrating at the frequency of the person who trusts themselves, who takes risks, who claims their worth. And this new frequency immediately begins attracting different opportunities, people, and resources. Second, your identity shifts. You're not the same person after making a quantum decision as you were before. You've proven to yourself that you're capable of choosing alignment even when it's scary. You've demonstrated that you value your growth more than your comfort. You've shown that you're willing to bet on yourself. This fundamentally changes your self-concept, and your self-concept determines what you believe is possible for you, which determines what you create. Third, your actions shift. Once you've made an aligned quantum decision, your subsequent actions flow from a different energy. You're no longer taking action from fear, from desperation, from the energy of the old identity trying to create change. You're taking action from alignment, from trust, from the energy of the new identity stepping into their power. Same actions on the surface, completely different frequency underneath. And that difference in frequency creates exponentially different results. Fourth, the quantum field responds. When you make a choice that represents a genuine shift in frequency and identity, the universe reorganizes to support that choice. This isn't magical thinking. This is quantum physics. The field responds to observation, to consciousness, to frequency. When your frequency shifts through an aligned decision, the field shifts with you. Synchronicities appear. Opportunities emerge. Resources show up. Doors open that were previously invisible or closed. This is why one decision can create a wealth shift that seems disproportionate to the size of the decision itself. It's not about the decision. It's about the frequency shift and identity transformation that the decision represents. You're not just changing what you do. You're changing who you are. And when you change who you are, your entire reality must reorganize to match your new identity. The opposite is also true. When you reach a quantum decision point and choose from fear, from limitation, from your old identity, you're also making a powerful choice. You're choosing to maintain your current frequency, to reinforce your current identity, to stay in your current timeline. And the quantum field responds to that choice too, by continuing to deliver experiences that match that frequency. Making quantum decisions with confidence. Now let's talk about how to actually make quantum decisions when they appear. Because recognizing them is one thing, but having the courage to choose alignment over safety is another entirely. Most people know what they should choose. The aligned path is usually obvious at an intuitive level, but they talk themselves out of it. They let fear win. They choose the comfortable known over the uncertain aligned. So how do you build the capacity to make quantum decisions with confidence? First, you need to separate fear from intuition. Fear and intuition can feel similar. Both create strong sensations in your body. But they come from different sources and point in different directions. Fear comes from your ego, your conditioning, your old identity trying to keep you safe by keeping you small. Intuition comes from your higher self, your soul, your deepest knowing about what's truly aligned for you. Fear contracts. Intuition expands. Fear says, what if it goes wrong? Intuition says, what if it goes right? The practice is learning to feel the difference in your body. When you're considering a quantum decision, fear will typically create contraction in your chest, tightness in your throat, shallow breathing, a sense of closing down. Intuition, even when it's guiding you towards something scary, creates expansion in your chest, a sense of opening, deeper breathing, a feeling of rightness despite the fear. Both can be present simultaneously. The key is learning which one you're going to follow. Second, you need to reframe what safety actually means. Most people think safety is staying where you are, choosing the known, avoiding risk. But here's the truth. Staying in your comfort zone when you're being called to grow is actually the most dangerous choice you can make. It's dangerous to your soul, to your potential, to your purpose. Real safety comes from trusting yourself, from knowing you can handle whatever comes, from growing into your capacity. Making aligned quantum decisions, even scary ones, is actually choosing real safety, the safety of becoming who you're meant to be. Third, you need to practice decision-making from your future self rather than your current self. When you're at a quantum decision point, ask yourself, what would the version of me who's already living my desired financial reality choose here? That future self isn't afraid of the investment, the risk, the visibility, the expansion. They've already proven they can handle it. They've already become the person who makes these choices naturally. Channel that version of you and let them make the decision. Fourth, understand that quantum decisions don't require perfect clarity or certainty. In fact, they usually require you to move forward with partial information, trusting that the path will reveal itself as you walk it. This is fundamentally different from how most people make decisions. Most people wait until they feel certain, until all questions are answered, until the risk feels minimal. But quantum decisions, by their nature, require a leap. They require you to commit before you're ready, to invest before you can see the return, to choose before you feel certain. One practical technique is what I call the quantum decision ritual. When you're facing a quantum decision point, create space. Turn off distractions. Sit quietly. Breathe deeply. Feel into both options, the safe choice and the aligned choice. Notice what happens in your body with each option. Notice which choice expands you and which contracts you. Notice which choice feels like your future and which feels like your past. Then, from that place of inner knowing, make your choice and commit fully. Another crucial element is speed. Once you've identified a quantum decision point and felt into the aligned choice, move quickly. Don't give fear time to build elaborate stories about why you shouldn't do it. Don't let your rational mind talk you out of what your intuition knows is right. There's a moment of clarity, a window of courage. Act in that window. Make the investment. Send the message. Take the leap. The longer you wait, the more likely fear will win. Finally, understand that making quantum decisions gets easier with practice. The first few times, it will feel terrifying. Your nervous system isn't used to choosing growth over safety. But each time you make an aligned quantum decision and survive it, and you will, your capacity grows. Your nervous system learns that it's safe to expand. Your identity integrates the new level. And the next quantum decision point feels slightly less scary and slightly more natural. Living in quantum alignment. Once you begin making quantum decisions consistently, your life becomes a series of aligned choices rather than habitual reactions. You're no longer on autopilot, unconsciously recreating the same patterns and arriving at the same results. You're consciously choosing your reality, moment by moment, decision by decision. And this level of consciousness and intentionality creates a life, and a financial reality, that most people never access. Here's what living in quantum alignment looks like. You become exquisitely attuned to the energy of your choices. Before making any significant decision, you pause. You feel into it. You check whether this choice is coming from your old identity or your emerging identity. Whether it's maintaining your current frequency or shifting you toward your desired frequency. Whether it's safe and comfortable or aligned and expanding. And you consistently choose alignment, even when it's uncomfortable. This doesn't mean every decision has to be dramatic or life-changing. Most of your life is still made up of small, ordinary choices. But even in those small choices, you're either reinforcing your old patterns or building new ones. You're either choosing from scarcity or abundance, from fear or trust, from contraction or expansion. Living in quantum alignment means being conscious even in the small moments, because those small moments compound into your overall trajectory. You'll also notice that as you make more aligned quantum decisions, the universe starts to trust you with bigger opportunities. This is how wealth acceleration works. When you prove through your choices that you're serious about your expansion, that you're willing to bet on yourself, that you can handle growth, the quantum field brings you increasingly significant opportunities. Each quantum decision point you navigate successfully opens the door to the next level. But here's what's important to understand. Living in quantum alignment isn't about perfection. You won't make the aligned choice every single time. There will be moments when fear wins, when you choose safety over growth, when you miss a quantum decision point entirely. This is part of being human. The key is not perfection but direction. Are you choosing alignment more often than not? Are you growing your capacity to recognize and navigate quantum decision points? Are you becoming more of who you're meant to be? If yes, you're on the right path. One of the most profound shifts that happens when you live in quantum alignment is that you stop waiting for your financial reality to change before you change. Most people wait for the money to show up before they start being the wealthy version of themselves. But quantum decision-making flips this. You start making the choices that the wealthy version of you would make now, before the external evidence shows up. You invest in yourself. You charge your worth. You trust abundance. You operate from overflow. And because you're making those choices, because you're embodying that frequency, the money follows. You also develop what I call quantum faith, a deep trust that when you make aligned decisions, the universe supports them. Not always in the way you expect. Not always on your timeline, but always in the way that serves your highest growth. This faith isn't blind optimism. It's earned through experience, through repeatedly making aligned choices and witnessing the universe respond, through navigating quantum decision points and seeing your reality shift as a result. Living in quantum alignment ultimately means taking radical responsibility for your financial reality. Not blaming circumstances, the economy, your background, or bad luck, but understanding that your reality is a reflection of your choices, your frequency, your embodiment, and that at any moment, you have the power to choose differently, to shift your frequency, to collapse the wave function of your life into a new financial timeline. So here's your invitation. Start paying attention to the quantum decision points in your life. They're there. They're showing up regularly. The question is whether you're awake enough to recognize them and courageous enough to choose alignment when they appear. Because here's the truth. You're always one decision away from a completely different financial reality. One aligned choice. One quantum leap. One moment of choosing your expansion over your fear. That's all it takes. Not someday. Not when you're ready. Now. The quantum decision point is here. What will you choose?